Hey guys, I'm Jenna and welcome to my countdown of my top 8 fictional fashion icons of the 2000s. Growing up in the 2000s, I took a ton of fashion inspiration from characters on TV and from movies because these were the days before social media. So aside from magazines and, I don't know, the mannequins at the mall, the only place that we could really go for outfit ideas or fashion ideas or style ideas in general were celebrities. And since we didn't have access to celebrities all day, every day, like we do now via social media, we had to look at the characters that they played on TV. So it's really no surprise that so many of the fashion icons and iconic fashion looks that I think of when I think of that time were from fictional characters rather than real people. I've narrowed it down to my top 8 and I'm gonna count them down for you right now. Kicking us off on this list is Miss Anna Coleman, played by Lindsay Lohan in the 2003 remake of Freaky Friday. 2003 for some reason is a standout year in my mind. I feel like it was a big change for fashion. There was a lot of shifting happening in fashion. We were really moving away from the Y2K era and going really strongly into the McBling era. But along with that, there was this pop punk trend thing happening. When this movie came out with Lindsay Lohan, a teen icon in herself, that look kind of went a little bit more mainstream because it reached people like me who up until that point had been really into the Abercrombie aesthetic of the time. And it made me question everything. I had a very brief phase where I was stacking gummy bracelets and buying studded belts from Hot Topic. I quickly realized that that look was not me, but I really think that looking back, this movie had a lot to do with it, and specifically the fact that Lindsay Lohan played this character because I already loved her so much from movies like The Parent Trap and things like that that I had seen her in growing up. A couple of things that are really stand out in my mind from her character in terms of the fashion are, number one, her accessories, the studded belts, the bracelets like I mentioned, the cuff bracelets. Those were things that somebody like me could add on to my outfits without feeling like a total poser because it didn't have to change like my whole look. She also wore a lot of cargo pants, which I was really into at the time, so I really felt cool when I realized that I had some of the same clothes as her already in my closet. Never mind the fact that my cargo pants were from the Gap, but the other thing that is really, really important about her look in this movie is her hair. The way that teen girls worshipped these super streaky highlights, I can't even explain it. I thought that this look was like the epitome of style at the time. I was really, really into chunky highlights, and then when this movie came out, I was like, that's it. I need to have blonde stripes in my hair. I still think of this character played by Lindsay Lohan as a standout style icon for me of this time. Next up, number 7 on the list is Brooke Davis from One Tree Hill. If you have been following along here or on my other social media channels, you may know that I am in the midst of my very first watch of One Tree Hill ever. Yes, I have never seen it before. So when I say Brooke Davis on this list, I'm really referring to early seasons, which are the high school years. Brooke's fashion is everything that I wanted to be in high school. It's a little bit more elevated than what I was probably wearing, but the main ideas and the main styles are definitely there. She wears a ton of juicy tracksuits, which obviously were a staple at that time. She wears a lot of really, really great denim. Her denim is very low, it's very trendy. She has trendy brands of denim that she wears. Specifically, there's a pair of Von Dutch jeans that she wears in season 1 that I owned, and I would give anything to have them now. But what I really appreciate about Brooke Davis, especially in those early high school seasons, is her amazing, truly amazing collection of halter tops. She has every kind of halter top you could imagine. She's got embellished halter tops. She's got the halter tops that tie in the front. She's got the halter tops that tie in the back. She's got wide halter tops. She's got skinny strapped halter tops. She's got shiny halter tops. I also was a huge fan of halter tops, so I really, really appreciate that. Overall, I think her style is kind of the epitome of popular girl, like cool girl fashion, but again, like I mentioned, it's a little bit more elevated versus the kind of basic mall store type clothes that I was wearing and probably a lot of people were wearing, but it was definitely something that we would have looked to as inspiration for the way that I wanted to dress. Also, she's not on this list, but I have to give an honorable mention to Peyton on One Tree Hill for just the sheer amount of midriff she's always showing. There is like inches of skin between the bottoms of her tank tops and the tops of her jeans in pretty much every single scene on that entire series. Number 6 goes to the queen bee herself, Regina George. The character of Regina George was obviously supposed to be somewhat untouchable. It was an aspirational character because she was the mean girl, she was the rich girl, she was the girl that you could never be like no matter how hard you tried. And they really showcased this through the clothes that they put her in and also her accessories. She has a lot of Louis Vuitton for a 16-year-old, although it should be noted that for some reason, a lot of her Louis accessories in the movie are actually fake. I don't know why they have her carrying fake bags, but I digress. One thing that I love about Regina's outfits is that she wears a lot of monogrammed things. I too was really into the monogram. I think this was a huge trend for many, many years. Mean Girls came out in 2004, and when I think back to the time that I was really into that, it was right around that same time. She has a necklace with a rhinestone R. I had the exact same one with a J, so that really takes me back. She also has an R on her kind of scandalous pajamas. This is exactly what we all wanted to look like. Regina George nailed it. Girl gets a 10 out of 10. Speaking of pink, number 5 goes to our girl Elle Woods from Legally Blonde. Believe it or not, Legally Blonde came out in 2001, which means I'm officially ancient, but Elle Woods blew us all out of the water with her outfits. 2001, we were on the tail end of the Y2K era, and it's really apparent in some of the outfits. Everything has a lot of texture and a lot of shine. There's a lot of pleather, there's a lot of sequins, there's a lot of sparkly things. In court, she wears a sequin belt. I mean, come on, girl, you go for it. But the thing about Elle Woods' fashion is that it was more of an inspirational type of fashion icon versus something that we would actually want to wear. Although I don't think I would have worn anything that she actually wears in the movie, except for maybe her costume party look. I did actually have a crocheted hat that looks very similar to the one that she wears when they go to retrieve Paulette's dog from her ex. Number 4, we have Blaire Waldorf, another queen bee, and really a defining style icon of the late 2000s. I think Gossip Girl in itself needs a lot of credit for the way that it really defined fashion in the later aughts. In the early 2000s, we had a lot of that Abercrombie aesthetic. We had the McBling, we had the tracksuits, we had short skirts. In the later 2000s, we moved into this very preppy glam sort of style that was a really big trend among some others. She really kind of set the tone for that preppy glam look to take off. And I think that really paved the way for the girl boss era that we entered into in the 2010s, which means that really we have Blaire Waldorf to thank for the fact that we were wearing peplums and blazers to the bars. Whether or not you were doing the preppy thing in the late 2000s, she had a huge impact on fashion. I think that show in general had a huge impact on fashion. The headbands, the coats, the capes, the tights, the plaids. I mean, so many things that I remember loving at that time were Blaire Waldorf staples. Also, I would love to know if you were a teenager or college age girl in the late 2000s, how many headbands did you own? Now we're getting into the top 3. These are my 3 most influential style icons that I remember from the 2000s. Number 3, Marissa Cooper from the OC. What Gossip Girl did in the late 2000s, I think, is really what the OC did in the early 2000s. So this is another show that came out in 2003, again, very important year for fashion. And when I say that the fashion on this show just completely blew my mind, but Marissa in particular was exactly how I wanted to dress in high school. And really her style, out of anybody on this entire list, has the most similarities to my own in high school. She really had that cool, casual California girl look nailed. And despite the fact that I lived in Wisconsin, I fully thought that my personal style was also California cool. A lot of TV characters were kind of over the top in their fashion, and sometimes her outfits were too, but a lot of the outfits that we saw her wearing were things that I was wearing. She wore basic tank tops, she wore graphic tees, she wore denim miniskirts, you know, she wore polo shirts. A lot of those sort of signature fashions of the time were things that we saw Marissa's character wearing really often on the OC. Like Brook on One Tree Hill, Marissa's fashion was more elevated than the mall store version that I was wearing in Wisconsin. She has so many iconic looks, but she kind of nailed every single trend that I was really into at the time. But my favorite Marissa Cooper look, I think, has to be when she paired a pleated denim miniskirt because we loved those, with a rainbow striped top and ballet flats. Nailed it, Marissa. Nailed it. Number 2 goes to the Disney Channel queen herself, Miss Lizzie Mcguire. Lizzie Mcguire's style was really defined by her hair and her accessories. Your girl Lizzie was not a minimalist, we'll just say that. This was the most over-the-top, crazy styled television show that has ever happened, I think, but we really did love her style. Kind of like Elle Woods, I don't think Lizzie Mcguire's style was something that we really wanted to emulate or copy the way that I might have wanted to copy Brooke Davis or Marissa Cooper's outfits head to toe. We didn't want to do that with Lizzie, but we were definitely pulling inspiration from her. I mean, I don't even know where to start, you guys. Like, her outfits were so out there. She paired every possible color, every possible pattern, every possible texture that you could ever think of and put them into one outfit. And then she would do the same thing with her hair. So she had crimps over here and curls over here, and it was straight over here, and then she had a clip here and a bun here, and all together at the same time. Her style was like if you went into Deb and grabbed a handful of shirts, and then you went into What Seal and grabbed random things off a mannequin, and then you went into Limited 2 and grabbed a couple of things there, and then you just closed your eyes and put an outfit together, and then you went into Claire's and took every single accessory off an entire wall and put it all on at the same time. That was Lizzie Mcguire's style. And we were like, yes. Loves it. Amazing. Sign me. Even though Lizzie's style wasn't something that we really wanted to wear head to toe, I mean, at least I hope you didn't, we still pulled a lot of inspiration from her. It really, really was a game changer, especially for young girls around that time. And that brings us to number 1, my top pick for my favorite fictional fashion icon of the entire decade of the 2000s, Miss Serena Vander Woodson from Gossip Girl. Before anybody freaks out that I put Serena at number 1 and not Blaire, I have to say that if I could choose one fashion era, just one, to live in forever and ever and dress head to toe for the rest of my life, it would be this very specific boho glam look that was happening in the late 2000s. I was so fully obsessed with this look. People like Rachel Zoe, Nicole Richie, Mary-Kate and Ashley. And I think Serena was the only really big TV or movie character at the time that had that style and really, really nailed it. I mean, Blake Lively just could not be more perfect for this kind of fashion. And Serena's hair could be a character all on its own. I mean, if it weren't for her hair, I don't think the look would have pulled off nearly as well. Serena's boho glam really did for that whole kind of style the same thing that Blaire's preppy look did for headbands and plaid. And if you look at their outfits, kind of, if you take it down to basics, they're very similar in a lot of ways. They have similar silhouettes. Serena and Blaire will both wear a very preppy looking outfit, but they accessorize them differently. She does a lot of metallics. She does a lot of chains. She does a lot of chunky accessories. So chunky necklaces, chunky belts, chunky bracelets, chunky shoes, huge, huge bags, which were a staple at that time, especially with the boho queens like Mary-Kate and Ashley and Rachel Zoe. They were carrying those like giant Balenciaga bags with the chains on them, huge sunglasses, all of these things that we were seeing celebrities do, Serena was doing on Gossip Girl. And I worshipped every second of it. Another cool thing about Gossip Girl in general is that the show was on from 2007 to 2012. There was a big shift over that time. So the fashion of 2007 was very different from what it looked like in 2012. But even throughout that whole time, they did a nice job of evolving the style of the characters on the show while still staying true to their individual styles. Even in the later seasons when we were wearing things like bandage dresses and sky-high platform pumps, Serena does a bandage dress, but they put a metallic shoe on her. So it still kind of gives that boho edge that feels very true to her character. The entire cast of Gossip Girl really deserves a shout out for being extremely influential in fashion in the 2000s and early 2010s. But to me, Serena, she was it. She nailed it. Queen Serena. So there you have it, my top 8 most fashionable fictional characters of the 2000s. Let me know if you agree, who your picks are. Were they on my list? Did I miss any that you loved? Let me know, and thanks for watching.